Hello, this is Dana Paul, and today I'd like to describe the process that I use to install the brass weights in the center of the handles of Tamperista tampers. I get a lot of questions about that process, and I thought it'd be simplest just to show how I set up the machine and drill and bore and thread the center of the handle to accommodate that weight. I'll focus the camera on the machine and the tooling that I use, and we'll talk about exactly how I follow that process. So let's get started. I use a weight inside the handle. It's made of 3/4 10 threaded brass rod. This is a 360 alloy free machining brass. I cut it to length. I finish the end that enters into the handle. I drill and thread the bottom end to accept the connecting screw that connects the handle to the stainless steel base. Then I have to make a hole and thread the hole inside the handle to accommodate the brass weight. Now, this brass adds about 130 grams to the weight of the handle. The handle will be anywhere from 50 to 75 grams. This tulip wood handle is about 50 grams. So the weight will thread up into the handle, and it'll come within about 1/2 inch of the top of the handle. I drill and bore the hole in the handle in 4 different steps. And these are just arbitrary steps. I begin with a center drill. I bore the hole to 1/4 inch. I enlarge the hole with a step drill to 29/64, just an arbitrary choice that I made that works for me. I finish the drilling operation with a 5/8 drill at 625 thousandths. Then I bore the hole with a boring bar to 670 thousandths. That's to get ready for the threading step. For the threading step, I use a thread milling cutter made by Harvey Tools. It's called a double angle shank style cutter. It's mounted in a Precise Bits precision collet, and the run out on this collet is about 2/10 of a thousandth. This cutter has to be held very rigidly, and it has to be spun with very low run out. I spin it at about 10,000 RPM. The way that the thread cutter works is that it's moved into the bottom of the hole. It's moved toward the front of the lathe to start cutting some threads, and then it's backed out of the hole with the lathe running in reverse, and that enables it to cut a thread inside the tamper handle blank. I cut the threads in 3 passes, about 15 thousandths per pass, because I don't want to cut the entire thread with one pass of this cutter. Keep in mind, the threading cuts are across the grain of the wood. The wood runs this way, and when you thread it, you're cutting across the grain. And if you try to cut the whole grain at one time, there's a possibility that you'll tear out some wood, and you won't wind up with good sharp bottoms in the threads that you do. I have some figured babinga that's pretty nice wood. It'll make very nice tamper handles. And I'm just going to chuck a piece of this in the lathe chuck, and then we'll get started with the process right away. Try to get a close-up of this thread so that you can see what the cut is on the inside of the handle now. But there's a pretty fine edge on those threads, very sharp on the inside, and that's the way I like to make live tool threads, and it's the only way that I have come up with to keep threads dead concentric and clean enough so that the threaded insert will go into those threads. Now, if this piece sits around for a month or two before I shape the handle, it's very likely that the shape of the piece is going to change a little bit. It may flatten out as the grain dries out a little more, but I try to use good dry wood to begin with so that by the time I'm finished shaping the handle, I can still thread the 130 gram weight down into the handle without running into any problems and having to run another ordinary tap back through there. So I hope this demonstrates live tooling, live thread tooling, or live thread milling, if you want to call it that. And this is the way that I recommend doing it if you decide to insert weights into your tamper handles. This actually is a technique that's borrowed from cue making, and I don't make many cues these days, but I do make a lot of tamper handles, and it's a perfect way to get the weight inside the handle. Thanks for watching.